Today we're talking about money and meaning for creatives, and it's very deliberate that we're talking about these two together because there are plenty of budget influencers, resources, and they all are great at talking about budget, but most of them are not great about addressing the fact that for artists, there's also this non-monetary value at play. And we don't know how to put a finger on the pulse of that. And so sometimes we can make choices that are incongruent with financial wisdom because we are artists. We want to pursue creative endeavors. We want to feel fulfilled artistically. So let's talk about what we're going to be covering today. So this is not going to be your typical budgeting seminar. I've been to many of them. I've viewed many of them. I've read many books on budgeting. We're not going to be talking about cutting your coffee budget. We're not going to be talking about tracking every receipt. This is really a conversation about sustainability, creative fulfillment, and building clarity around your financial choices as an artist. So what we're going to cover are the 5 hard truths about money and creative work. And it's really important that we start with this because it grounds a lot of the things I'm going to cover. We'll talk about why creatives often feel stuck in cycles of busyness. We'll talk about a practical framework for evaluating the work you take on and perhaps more importantly, the work that you decline. We'll also go over some tools for budgeting with irregular income. And we'll also close with a reflection and exercise for you all so that you can maybe start with that first small change or that first big leap, whatever it might be. It's really important that we understand what not to expect from today. I'm not going to provide a lecture on cutting your budget, stop buying coffee, cancel your streaming services, whatever that might be. We're not going to do any spreadsheets today. So if you have any anxiety with Excel, don't worry, we're not doing that today. It's also not a deep dive into capitalism or financial theory because ain't nobody got time for that. It's not a place to judge how much you earn, spend, or save. That's really important because there is a lot of research that shows that we feel a lot of shame surrounding money and we avoid talking about it. And one of my passions is to break that ice. We need to, as artists, be open and transparent around the topics of money because only then can we help each other. And it's also not going to be a quick fix plan to get rich overnight. I'm so tired of seeing all of those budget influencers, financial gurus. Okay, there's no overnight secret I'm going to unveil here today. So the first thing I want to talk about are the 5 hard truths. These are just my own hard truths that I teach my students, that I incorporated in the book that's coming out. When I used to be more active in artist management, this is something I went over with every single client. Number 1, privilege is real. The playing field is not level. And I want to acknowledge that because some of us start with access, support, and safety nets, and others don't. It doesn't erase your hard work, but privilege does shape outcomes. It's really essential that we understand that hard truth. Number 2, capitalism isn't going away, at least not in our lifetimes. We live inside of a system that rewards only a certain kind of labor and a certain kind of visibility. It's really important that we understand that because many artists have a perhaps more liberalized viewpoint and they spend more times complaining about the game than actually playing the game. We all live in the game of capitalism and we have 2 choices. Option 1 is we play the game. Option 2 is we lose. It also doesn't mean if we play the game, it doesn't mean that we have to agree with the rules, but we need to learn how to navigate within the rules that are set forth. Hard truth number 3, hard work alone does not guarantee financial stability. This one's really tough for artists. You live in the practice room, you churn and burn on your craft, but it doesn't equate to financial stability. Talent and hustle matter, but so does timing, networks, and systems of power. Hard truth number 4, you can't budget your way out of under-earning, period. And this is the problem that I see with so many budget seminars, financial gurus, is they're always talking about cutting expenses, invest more. The problem is that has an underlying assumption that you're already making enough to survive. Budgeting only helps you manage what you have, but it's not a solution if you're being consistently underpaid. Finally, sustainability, and I'm referring to financial sustainability and what that looks like to you. It's deeply personal. I'm not going to tell you what that number is or what that figure or what that feeling is. And a lot of research shows that it's really not a number, it's a feeling that determines your level of financial stability and sustainability. Your definition of enough will differ from others, and that's absolutely okay. And the sooner we accept this hard truth, the sooner we won't feel as much shame when we talk about numbers, when we talk about figures with our colleagues. Because just because someone makes more than you does not mean that they're more successful or living a more sustainable life. You have no idea what their expenditures are. So 50,000 a year with zero debt and zero expenses, and you're living in a home that your parents gave to you, you're richer than someone that makes $100,000, has a mortgage, has two kids, and has two car loans and student loans. Do we understand that? So we don't want to get fixated on the number because we have no idea what sustainability looks like from person to person. The hamster wheel has a very unique cycle. You've got the gig, you burn out on the gig, you recover, and then you jump right into the next one. And the cycle repeats and repeats and repeats. It's a trap that artists fall into all the time. You're constantly busy rehearsing, teaching, gigging. But when you actually take a step off of the hamster wheel and evaluate where things are, you might realize you're actually not building anything. You're just in a state of busyness. It feels like motion, but for those that have taken a basic physics class, motion does not equal momentum. There's a very big difference. And so I point this out because we have to be strategic in what we say yes to, because we only have so much time. The beauty of time is that it is the true privilege equalizer. Doesn't matter how wealthy you are, we all have the same 24 hours every day, period. Jeff Bezos doesn't get to buy an extra hour every day. Elon Musk doesn't get an extra day each week. We all have the same resource of time. How we spend it determines whether we're in motion or building momentum. So let's talk about why we get into the hamster wheel so that we understand sort of the psyche behind it, and maybe we can disrupt that hamster wheel effect. Why does the hamster wheel happen? Our culture rewards visibility and the hustle, but not the sustainability. Our teachers, our mentors, society teaches us to keep busy and to visibly display our busyness. Another thing is many creatives lack basic financial systems or structures. It is infuriating to me that you can get a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate as a music practitioner and not have to take one course in music business, financial literacy, basics. It is astounding to me. We are graduating artists that don't know what contracts are. We're graduating artists that don't know basic budgeting principles. I like to remind my colleagues in the industry that if you encounter an artist that just doesn't get the basics of contracts, business, finances, it's not their fault. They are a victim of the system that we have built. The other is we often defer meaning. We say yes to the safe work and put the soul work on hold. So how do we break the cycle? There's no one fixed solution, but I'd like to propose a very simple framework. Take it or leave it. But I think this one would work. We have pay, people, project. You can also call this the 3 Ps, okay? To start moving with intention, to start balancing the soul work with the safe work, we can use this framework. It's a tool that I use, take it or leave it, but every project I take on has to offer some mix of people, pay, and project. Ideally, you want a mix of at least 2 of these in any given project you take on. One is okay occasionally, especially if you are really deficient in one of the Ps along the way. But too many one-pot gigs will keep you in the hamster wheel, 100%. So aim for two. It's rare that you'll find a gig that covers all three, but aim for two. Avoid the ones. I like to also think of them as buckets because maybe it takes over a course of a season or a year to fill all those buckets, and they might fill at different times. Maybe right in January, you get this massive gig and your pay bucket is filled for the whole year. And then you have to slowly build the people project. Chances are you're not going to fill the pay bucket first, just saying, but you might, okay? It might also be the people budget. You never know, but think of it as additive and cumulative. It's a piggy bank for all three. Okay. But again, what's really important to understand to take away from this framework, if we're only taking on one pot gigs, you will feel burned out. You will be caught on the hamster wheel. It's up to you if you want to get off the hamster wheel and start building. Okay. So I'd like for you all to do an activity. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'd like for you, if you have a piece of paper nearby or, maybe your notes app, can you think about your most recent 3 to 4 gigs and rate those gigs on a scale of 1 to 5 under the people, pay, and project buckets? 5 being it was absolutely fulfilling in that category. 1 is it didn't add anything to that category. Let's talk about budgeting when we have irregular income. And this is important because, especially if you follow the framework, people pay projects, you're going to have varying levels of income coming in paycheck to paycheck, month to month. And this is where artists really struggle because your income is never consistent. Some months you're making bank, maybe in the month of December, perhaps. And other months, it's just like, oh my God, I'm not making any money this month. And we start to panic. So, what are some things we can do to try to disrupt this cycle? The first that I want to introduce is what's called the baseline and buffer. So, for baseline and buffer, you need to calculate what your essential monthly expenses are. That's your baseline. Take a moment. What are the things that, like, if you don't pay these expenses each month, you cannot survive? Examples would be rent, food, right? Basic utilities. Calculate those, find out what your baseline is. I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, we've identified our baseline, our minimum monthly amount we need to survive, our basic needs, right? The goal then is to work toward, it's not going to be overnight, it's not going to be over the course of a month, but work towards building a buffer that is 1 to 3 times that amount. So if your baseline, I'm just using a figure, if your baseline is 2,000 a month that you need minimum to survive, okay, to meet your basic needs, can you build a separate pot of money that over time equals 1 to 3 months of that baseline? So if I need 2,000 a month, I'm going to make a goal to save an additional 2 to 6,000 in a separate account. Okay. The reason why we want to do this is because it gives you that cushion and that buffer during the slow seasons. So maybe in December, you're making 4 times the amount of your baseline. I know it might be tempting to spend all of that on goodies and Christmas presents for yourself, but that's a great sign for you to put that towards your buffer because come June, July, August, you're going to be scraping the barrel. And what this is essentially doing is going to the second point. You start to pay yourself a consistent salary. And this is the ultimate goal for freelancers, for most creatives and artists out there, is when your freelance income comes in, don't treat every dollar as immediately available. This is the toughest practice to incorporate in your financial life. When money comes in, don't treat it as a dollar that's immediately available. Treat it as a future dollar. So instead, place your payments into what I would call a holding account. Put your money in a separate account that's different from your account that you use for daily expenses. From there, you transfer a fixed amount each month into that main spending account, and that equals your salary. And again, going back to shame, what we started with, maybe that consistent salary when you're first starting is literally $50 a month. Doesn't matter. The goal is to build that over time. So, and it's also important that you're consistent with it. Build in a consistent salary so that you can literally pay yourself a fixed amount that you can depend on every single month. Start small, and build, build, build. It's very possible. I've worked with artists that started at literally $50, and some are now paying themselves 15, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. But some of them started with just 50. So start somewhere and grow it. The other thing is it's really important. One thing I do with my clients when I was in artist management is we literally sit down, we plaster an entire living room wall every single month, every single calendar day, January through December, and we map out their calendar or their season. Where are their peak earning months? When is it quiet? When are they earning virtually nothing? You are not reinventing the wheel. Chances are, whatever pattern you're observing now will be the same from year to year. So create a financial forecast. You don't have to do anything fancy, just a simple calendar or a spreadsheet, something so that you can almost be like a financial analyst and predict. I know in December I'm going to earn more than July. I know in July I'm going to be worried if I can even pay rent that month. I know in September, October that most seasons for most performing organizations kick up into high gear. Start planning it out so that you're not surprised and living paycheck to paycheck. It always amazes me when artists are surprised that they're struggling to earn money in July. It's like, you know this. Like, you know that every single performing arts calendar, their season ends by that month. Why are you surprised that you're earning less? You can plan ahead for this. The final budgeting tip that I would offer when you have a regular income is we had the three pots. Now we have the three bucket system. I had to come up with a differentiation. So whenever you receive money, immediately it goes into three separate accounts. Okay. Perhaps even three separate banks, which is helpful for a lot of my clients that I had back then because it's harder to transfer the money. So it helps you stay financially responsible. The three buckets, the spend bucket, what you need to pay your baseline expenses. That should only be an account that holds money to pay your bills and your essential living expenses. The other is the save bucket, saving for your short-term needs, the buffer that we talked about. But also, folks, you're going to get that flat tire. You're going to need that oil change, that vet visit for your pet, that you got sick and now you're on 3 courses of steroids because you got a gig tomorrow, right? So plan for those inevitable contingencies. And then the third, and this is hardest to talk about, but at some point, folks, you all have to retire, okay? And the sooner you plan for that financially, the better. Most financial influencers will probably tell you it's already too late. You should have already started. If you started 5 years ago, you would have been this much wealthier by now. Don't listen to that cockamamie. Just start now. The hardest thing about starting is starting. So just do it. Okay. You can all sign up today for a Roth IRA, an IRA, and a retirement account, whatever it might be. And if you all want to look at my book later when it comes out, we also talk about a lot of other investment tools. Many don't know that you can start your own 401k even as a self-employed individual. Okay. There are different tax advantage retirement accounts that you can leverage even as a freelancer. But you need to start saving and investing. So we had the spend bucket, the save bucket, and the invest bucket. Invest, I would also argue, goes beyond just planning for retirement. Maybe that's investing in equipment. Maybe that's investing in professional development. Maybe that's investing in an artistic project like an album. What this does is that it ensures you're not just surviving today, but building for tomorrow. These tools won't make your income stable. It is not a fix-all miracle solution, but what it does is it helps you create structure, it helps you reduce stress surrounding money, and it helps you build resilience. What are the next steps? Where do we go from here? I would love for you all to think of one belief about money that you want to shift. What's a belief that you walked into tonight that you had, and maybe that's changing in lifetime, or maybe you want to actively change a belief you have? And then the next question is, what is one small behavior you can try right now, this month? And you can all be artists that break the mold. You can be financially healthy. You can endure the summer months with comfort. without anxiety. And it may not happen immediately, but it's important to trust the process and know that the end goal is having that summer where you don't worry. It's an amazing and profound feeling. You can get there.